All right, thanks, Chris. Welcome, everybody. Looking forward to starting our conference journey here with a really good West Virginia team to start it off. Obviously, they're playing at a high level. Neil Brown's done a tremendous job there. He's got a great staff, a lot of guys that we're very familiar with and have crossed paths with at different points, and clearly doing a great job. Obviously, this is the one game that we missed last year as far as playing in the conference, so it'll be good to get a chance to compete against these guys. They're playing at a very high level. Obviously had a huge win last weekend against a very good Virginia Tech team. So this is a complete football team coming in here. Experienced quarterback, strong run game, and one of the top defenses in the country. And were last year and certainly playing already at a very high level this year. So will be a big challenge for us. We're looking forward to getting a chance to compete against these guys. I want to say, again, just for our fan base last weekend, just how phenomenal the atmosphere was, and expecting the same thing just under the lights here this week. I know getting a primetime game here at 6:30, and last one that we'll have here for a while. Team's looking forward to going out, performing well, competing, and I know it'll be a great atmosphere in there Saturday night for the entire nation to see. So looking forward to that, and we will go ahead and take questions.
Yeah, Lincoln, we saw the rotations tighten up a little bit, especially defensively this weekend. When you're going through that and trying to decide some of those things, how do you have to balance the present versus what y'all are facing schedule-wise with this 9-week stretch to open the season without a bye?
Yeah, that's a good question. And there's not an exact answer. I mean, I think every position's different. I think if you've got a clear-cut one, how dominant is that one? How much further ahead are they than maybe the 2 or the 3? How many reps do you feel like they can play at a high level and get their best? How good are the 2? How good is the 3? How many guys do you rotate and want to feel like that are ready to play and compete, no matter who we're playing? And so some of it's been just some of our evaluations as the beginning of the season has kind of transpired, and we've been able to see what these guys are doing on the practice field, what they're doing on the game field. And in several cases, especially defensively, there's a lot of positions where there's some tough decisions. I mean, there really is. And what we've told our guys is don't make it 50-50. Like, don't leave it up to us. Make it so clear-cut that any Joe Schmo in the stands could figure out who needs to be the starter. If you do that, you're probably going to be on the field. If it's 50-50, then sometimes it's going to go your way with the reps, and sometimes it's not. And so a lot of competition. And then I think our guys have also got to have an understanding, we're just at the beginning of this thing. This is a long season. There's going to be a lot of twists and turns. One example we've used through the years is, go look, Hollywood's first year here, go look at the first half of Marquise's year and go look at the second half. I mean, our second game at Ohio State, he didn't even play one snap. By the end of the season, he's one of the best receivers in the country. So, opportunities can come up. They're going to fluctuate when you've got a talented team like we do. So we need guys that continue to compete, and we're going to continue to evaluate. And I think those reps will continue to change and fluctuate as time goes on and the different circumstances do come up. Mm-hmm.
Jason Kersey.
Yeah, Lincoln, you guys don't seem to be throwing down the field as much, maybe deep balls as much as you do typically. I'm just wondering, is that intentional? Is that the result of what the defense is doing? Can you kind of take us through that?
Yeah, just a little bit of just some of how it's played out. We've had a couple things, dialed up that we just hadn't quite been able to get to, or we just missed, or bad timing by me on the calls. I mean, I don't look back at it and say any of the times where we haven't played well offensively early in the season that's the sole thing. Our big deal offensively is we've got to play with all 11 more often. We're doing some good things, and actually probably from when I left the field Saturday afternoon to getting to watch the tape, we played actually a little bit better offensively than I felt leaving. I wasn't real happy about it when we left the field, but we did some good things. It was a low possession game. I mean, in a normal possession game there, we probably, even not playing up to our level we expect, we probably still score 35-ish, somewhere in there. It's just, and then nobody's saying anything about it. So we need to play better. That's the bottom line for us. We need to play. Our good is plenty good enough. We need to play more consistent across the board. And I would say it's pretty symptomatic at every position. Every position level's playing pretty decent. You know, we don't need anybody to be a lot better. We just need everybody to be a little better.
Jesse Crittenden.
Hey Lincoln, you guys found some success running the ball on Saturday, but you've talked about, you know, wanting to limit the reps for Eric Gray, Candy Brooks, since they're your own scholarship backs. How do you find that balance between, you know, utilizing them if they're effective, but also trying to keep them fresh throughout the season?
Yeah, I just think we evaluate that going in, and if we've had a game, you know, where guys have had a lot of reps, or if a guy's banged up, then we've got to keep that in mind. But, you know, I mean, for example, going into last week, I mean, nobody played a lot of snaps the week prior, and both those guys are healthy and getting better. So we were pretty much on free reign with those guys. And you know, unless somebody gets banged up or just gets a ton of reps, I would imagine we'll continue to cut those guys loose.
Lincoln, the progress of the offensive line, is that starting to be where you need it to be? And is that a group that has to have a set 5, or can you go with 7 or 8?
Well, I think you got to have a few more that can play. And we've tried to be a little more conscious of it early this season because we've had several pretty hot games already. And so we've tried to be conscious of it there. I'm sure a group will settle in here as we go, but I would imagine with the quality of bodies we have in there, I'd imagine we'll play 6 or 7 the majority of the games. And I thought we did a lot of good things up front the other day. Honestly, that group was probably the strongest group offensively on the field. I thought they played well. We were pretty solid in the run game, pretty solid in pass pro. Really the majority of the pressures came from, you know, the backs have got to do a better job in pass pro of finishing. So we're getting there. We're taking some strides there.
Like the old adage that coaches use with their quarterbacks, take what the defense gives you. I know you've said just as much as anyone else over the years, but at a place like Oklahoma, where you've had such a big splash offensively the last 5 or 6 years with your previous quarterbacks, is that a tougher message to have sink in for a kid like Spencer, given what's happened here the last 4 or 5 years?
And there's a high expectation here offensively, and he understands that. I think probably more just based on his expectations, and I think all of ours of what we can be offensively this year as compared to maybe other years. I think we feel like we got the makings of a really good group, and I think there's a pretty general consensus around our program that we feel like we're pretty close, and probably a little bit closer than a lot of people think, to really playing some good ball. And we've had some periods of this season already where we've played very good ball. So it's a fine line, and we got to push it over the hump. I think the thing for Spencer is to continue to stay patient, to continue to play within this system and trust his teammates, trust what we're doing. And if we can all do that as a group, we'll continue to get better, and we'll bust through and play pretty well here coming up soon.
I want to follow up on that regarding Jason's question about the yards per play, yards per completion, whatever it is, it's really down this year. Does that play into what you're talking about with Spencer as well? He's got to trust the system, trust what's going on. It looks like he's not maybe trusting, I don't know if it's protection or where the receivers are going to be breaking open. Looks like not all of it's on him, obviously, but it looks like a lot of those decisions are coming from his arm.
I wouldn't say that's accurate. I mean, I don't think there's one position group that I can look at and says been completely outstanding, and there's certainly not been one position group, including his, that's been below average. I mean, we've just kind of all been okay, and we've kind of all took our turns. I mean, we played, you know, we've had some periods we played phenomenal against Tulane the first half. We played pretty phenomenal the entire second game, and then the beginning of Lay's last 2 games, we played excellent against a really good group. So, I mean, we've had our periods. We've got to be able to sustain it, to have more consistency across the board. And again, it kind of goes back to what I said. We don't need anybody to be a lot better. We need everybody to be just a little bit better. We're that close.
Jimmy Carlson.
Lincoln, you guys keep bringing in really good receivers, and they keep producing. But Drake Stoops, walk on, keeps getting on the field, keeps making catches and plays. What is it about him that just enables him to continue to find a way?
He's gotten a lot better. I mean, he carved a role out for himself last year with, I think, just how well he knows our system, being a guy that you could trust him to do his job every single time, trust him to make adjustments, to understand kind of the broader scheme. You trust how hard and fast that he played. This year, I think different in that he's in a good place physically, better than he's ever been. He's really got a great feel for setting people up and winning on routes, and he's become a guy that, is not just in now kind of because we trust him. He's in because we want to get on the ball. We want to use him. I mean, he's just gotten better. I mean, he really has. He's better in every way. So, regardless of where any of these guys came from, it's about what you do with the opportunity, and he's made the most of it, and just continues to make big strides for us.
Yeah, Coach, you've had a couple of situations here where your defense has had to make some stops late in games to get you wins. How does that help you in terms of identity, how you guys view yourselves heading into Big 12 play?
I think regardless of who's out there at the end, we have confidence in whether it's our defense, offense, whatever it is, to make plays in the end to win games. And something we've taken pride in. And we understand as a football team that you are going to have to win different ways. And finding ways to do that is not a skill you want to overlook. So it's great to see our defense do that. We have played very well in some critical situations. So I think that's been great. And I think we all know we've got a lot more left in the tank on all three sides, because we've, in the two games this year that have gotten, that have been close at the end, we've had a couple of opportunities to separate. And so as a team, that's something we got to be able to do a better job of, play a little bit more quality ball and take advantage when we do get those leads. But obviously the ability to close out, we've played in a couple close games. We'll play in more close games going forward. That's the nature of it right now. And, for us to show that ability and have that confidence in those critical moments is a great thing.
Lincoln, West Virginia comes into this game with one of the best defensive tackles in college football. You've told us before how difficult that is to game plan against that. Talk about them defensively and what you're running into Saturday.
Yeah, great group. It'll be a really, really good defensive front. They're experienced at linebackers, very experienced at safety. Got a corner that's played a lot. Got a couple transfers that came in the DBs. And really, they had missed a beat. They lost some good players from last year, but they're playing at a very high level. I mean, they are. They can rush the passer. They've been good against the run. They do some really good things schematically. So they're challenging really at all levels. So it'll be a good test. We didn't obviously get a chance to get that test last year, and they were playing at a high level. But it'll be obviously a good test for us offensively, and hopefully we'll play well and be a pretty good test for them too.
Mason Young.
Lincoln, was curious about Jalen Redmond, kind of just where is he in terms of where you thought he'd be about right now coming back, and also it seems like Isaiah Coe is kind of giving you guys a bit of a shot in the arm on the defensive line.
Yeah. No, I think Jalen is he's doing well. He played really well for us the other day. Assignment-wise, he's been really good. I think physically he's in a good place. The amount of pressure he's able to get, he's a matchup problem inside. He really is. Just the combination of the athleticism and the strength that he has is pretty unique. So, and just starting really to settle in, and I think you're starting to see the smaller nuances of the position. They're showing up more on tape with him now. He's really starting to turn into a good player. He really is. So he's doing great. I'm excited about him. And yeah, Isaiah Coe is taking advantage of a couple guys being out. We had a couple guys that missed some practice time, and he's one of the guys that has, really stepped up, got an opportunity, and has made the most of it. And I know everybody saw the block the other day, but he's done a lot of other very, very promising things that have us excited about him.
Barry.
Lincoln, two-part question on Spencer. How's he playing compared to how he played at the end of last year when he was in such a groove? And whatever problems you're having, how much are they related to what's going on across the country, where teams aren't scoring as much as they have been, and a lot of teams are struggling to score? Are teams playing different, and defense is catching up? How's that all work together?
I think he's playing. It's so hard to compare because it's two different groups. You're talking about a group that had played a bunch of games there together last year, and you get in a groove, and it's especially our skill positions are radically different. I mean, there's not a whole lot of this that's the same out there, and even some of the guys that are the same are at different positions. I mean, so I think a little difficult to compare. I mean, he's been good. He can play better. He can play cleaner. He's missed a couple of throws in the games that you typically expect him to make. But I think he's played good and right on the verge of playing very, very well. Yeah, and then I mean, as far as the trends across the country, I mean, hard to say after 3 games and not obviously having a chance to see everybody. But I mean, I think there's some. I think defensive schemes are getting, more and more unique as you go through. I think there's a lot of good talent right now across college football. And I mean, I guess I'd say this, I don't see as many bad defenses as I used to see, in my opinion. I mean, it just feels like that everybody's, the defenses have evolved. And I think you're starting to see that be more widespread, and it's not just one, a couple here or there. This game always goes in cycles, and introduced or tempo or RPOs and all that, and defenses always catch up, and then things continue to innovate, and it'll always be that kind of game, of that cat and mouse game. So I think we're just in the middle of one of those cycles right now. Now with that, we still expect to play a hell of a lot better offensively.
Lincoln, I was actually going to follow up on what Barry asked that second part. Is at the top, we haven't seen as much just dominant performances across 3 games as you maybe would have expected in years past. Is that as simple as the defenses are getting better? Have we maybe overlooked how different it's going to be to go back into these packed stadiums after what last year was? Just from the outside looking in, it just seems kind of off for everyone across college football.
Yeah, I mean, there's just a lot new right now. I mean, yeah, maybe the stadiums, I don't know. I would say just the preparation has still been very unusual, although way more normal. But I mean, you're these guys, you don't get last year back and all the time missed and the games missed and the non-practices and the time you missed with COVID and all, you don't get those things back. And I think, the thing is, I mean, with football, if you have bad offense and bad defense is going to win. I mean, offensively, you have to be inept. You have to be able to do something, or even if the other side's not playing well, it's still going to look like good defense to the casual fan. So, is that symptomatic nationwide? I mean, hard for me to say, but I do know, execution-wise, maybe the offenses are just a shade behind where maybe most people typically were at this point. Again, certainly not an excuse, and I certainly don't want to speak for everybody, but you're still talking about a lot of these players that have had a lot of interruptions last year, and even just a lot of new things kind of going on right now. I mean, literally half our team the other day, the first time they'd ever played in front of a full stadium was the Western game. I mean, it's still all a little unique right now. I mean, it just is. No.
Brandon Brown on the far left.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. How much of that has to do with just the gap that was stopped with spring last year, not having that, hardly having any fall, or if they did have fall camp, they missed a good portion of it because of COVID protocol and all that. And then how much of that has to do with, I guess, the timing with Spencer and some of the, like Marvin Mims, for instance, he'll go off in the first half, and then I think he's had like 9 receptions in 14 games in the second half of games. Is that due to timing, or is it due to the adjustments of the teams? Just, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't have a great answer for that, honestly. I mean, probably I would venture to guess somewhere around half of Marvin's games, we've gotten some pretty big separation in games early, and probably some of that's due to him not playing a whole lot in the second half. Some of it's luck of the draw. Some of it's, I don't know that I've identified that there's like one thing that's happened. I think as far as missing camp and all that, yeah, I mean that's hurt every football player, not just offensive players. There are some guys in our program right now, and I'm sure every program across the country could say this right now, that aren't as developed, having missed all that time, and again with last year being so unique. And so I mean, It is what it is. I mean, I think the older guys in the program are you know, a little further along still. But I would say that's fair to say that some of the, you know, first, especially second-year guys, maybe even some of the third-year guys, you know, are a little behind. But again, everybody's on an equal playing field there. Everybody's dealing with the same thing.
You mentioned it that.
Coach, curious, how is Billy Bowman doing? Does he have a chance to play this week? And also Woody Washington, see if you have an update on him as well.
Yeah, Billy's doing well. We expect Billy to play. Woody Washington won't play. His injury will be some significant time. But we do expect him back this season.
Back to Jason Kersey.
Yeah, Lincoln, I wanted to ask you about the recruitment of DJ Graham. When you were recruiting him, did you see him as a defensive back from the beginning, or were you considering him at receiver? And just what do you remember about his recruitment?
Yeah, I remember seeing his tape. We liked him. He came to a summer camp to work out, partly to try to help us answer that question. Majority of his tape was offensive tape, and we wanted to see if we thought DB was potential in his future. We thought he had potential as both. And once we got to see him live, we felt like athletically he could have a chance to play both for us. So we offered him as an athlete that day after camp. And yeah, and the recruitment went smooth. I mean, I think there was a lot of conversations back and forth about, you know, what the right thing was going to be. And I think it took some trust, certainly on his and his family's part, to kind of help trust us to guide him that way. Some of it being evaluating his skill set and where would he best have a chance to play and succeed, and also looking ahead at the team and, you know, where do you have maybe that bigger opening to possibly get on the field early in your career. And everything about it made sense as a DB, and he was on, and he was kind of halfway on, halfway off early. Not maliciously. I just think he was trying to really convince himself that this was the right thing. And I think as he got the hang of it, he got out there, he had some success. You know, I think he's pretty fully convinced now. So it's been a good move for him, the right move for him.
Lincoln, Jeremiah Cordell, I guess a lot of people probably expected he would have seen a lot of snaps with Billy out. Has he been healthy, or is he one of those cases that's made it 50-50?
Yeah, a little bit of that, and he's had a couple health things that he's battling through as well. But he's done a good job. Yeah, I would say he's been one of those guys kind of right in that pile of players that's pushing to play more. And but he's done well. He's practiced well. It's been kind of good to have him back here full time. So we'll just, like I said, it's kind of a competitive group with a lot of intriguing options with, you know, Broyles and Lawrence and you know, Turner Yell all able to come down there and play that position as well. So we've got a good group that we're trying to sift through.
Jenny.
Lincoln, gonna go off Main Street here for a second. I wanted to ask you a little bit about some of your guys and their thigh pads, which is apparently quite a big deal amongst a lot of these guys. Curious from your perspective, this is obviously, I mean, we got to play as a team, but these guys with the individual sort of expressions, what do you make of them, and what's sort of the talk amongst these guys with those things?
Yeah, they actually told me some guys have been doing it for a few years. I'd never seen it until this year. Never. I think they told me maybe Buki did it or something like that, maybe one other guy on our team. And honestly, I had never even paid attention to it, had no idea. Yeah, you know, question was asked. You know, we looked at it from the NIL perspective and we told the guys obviously can't have a NIL attachment to it. You know, can't be a brand, anything like that. But, you know, for me, we put their names on the back of their jerseys too. You know, so I mean, so if we put your number on your thigh pads, like who cares? I mean, you know, if it's something that's egregious or something that I think, you know, is taking attention away, something that's you know, not good for the uniform, you know, because that's fine. But I mean, to say we all look the same, we all have our names on the back too. So I mean, I want to give our guys some small windows within the framework of the team to, you know, express themselves, show any individuality, and that to me was not a big deal. And I've been asked other things, I promise, that I've axed, but I didn't axe that one.
Lincoln, we're still trying to, I think, navigate where NIL's taking everybody, and now that especially into the season, trying to figure out, you know, just what kind of impact it's going to have. Now the game's begun. Are you still out in front of your guys, making sure they're on point as far as take care of business here first, and then the opportunities will come? And are you comfortable with how they're responding to that?
Yeah, no, I think our guys have done a great job. They've done a good job communicating kind of with our processes when these things have come up. And one thing we pushed early on our guys was, to have a schedule and obviously minimize it during season. And if you do it, get it done early in the season and not letting it stand in the way of academics or football. And we really, I got to be honest, I mean, among our walls, I mean, we still check in with our guys about it, talk about it, all that, but it hasn't probably been as big a topic as what maybe people on the outside might think. I mean, I think our guys, for the most part, have handled it well. I'm not aware of any, distraction that's come up or something that I've had to address up to this point. Not saying it won't happen, but I don't think the NIL has had any impact on our season up to this point, which is where we want it.
James Hale?
Your special teams, it looks like to me you've won special teams battle in every game. Everybody talks about breakage. Our first chance to see Turk for the first time really helped you out. And one that he really had the chance to kick, and the others he was trying to get him inside the 20. It looked like to me he's going to be a tremendous weapon. You look at him as a weapon for you?
Oh, absolutely. He's a talented guy. He obviously did a great job pinning him down the other day. Didn't hit a great ball coming out of the end zone. And obviously we know he can be a lot better there. But no, he's a gifted guy because he's got power. He's got the ability to place the ball where you want it placed, and then his hang time when he hits his normal ball, not even a big one, is pretty impressive. So no, he is, and he certainly. As these games unfold, I mean, his ability is a factor, in the decision making when we get in those situations for sure.
And back to Brandon Drum.
Yeah, this is obviously 2019 or 2020. You didn't get to host recruits very much. How has it been hosting recruits now? Obviously, since COVID's back, is it different than how you all used to approach it, even with COVID? Just kind of curious on that.
Yeah, part of it just feels different because, like you said, it's been so long. The kind of got used to last year, before games, after games, you just coach the game and that was it. And obviously a little bit more to it now, so kind of getting back in the flow. But it's been good. It's been good to host people. We've got some COVID protocols that we're being careful with and trying to be very aware of, both for our staff, our players, and the recruits and their families. And I would say that's changed some of the scheduling that we would do to try to put everybody in safe environments. But other than that, it feels kind of like it used to feel. And it's been good to be able to have people here and see families and sit down and meet with them and have them over to our homes. I mean, all those things. So I think it's been very positive, and certainly it's really positive when you can go put recruits in an atmosphere like we've had here the last 2 weeks. So that makes it, again, our fans, you can't, probably hard for you to even imagine the impact that has.
Any more questions?
All right, thanks everybody.